Do you feel like your partner wants more emotional connection from you, but you don't know how to give it? Or maybe you're open with your emotions, but you feel like they're never heard or they never feel heard, right? See, most people think emotional availability is just about talking about your feelings, but that's only half the battle. So, right now, I'm going to break down for you how to be a more emotionally available and aware in your relationship. See, being emotionally available isn't just about sharing your emotions, right? It's also about receiving someone else's, being able to embrace them. And being emotionally aware isn't just about being able to notice someone else's feelings. It's about being able to truly understand those feelings and know how to respond appropriately to what you're understanding. So, the three core things you need to start doing to become a lot more emotionally available and aware is first, learning to sit with your own emotions. If you always tend to avoid your own feelings or you don't sit in the tough ones frequent enough and don't know how to handle them, then you won't be able to sit with your partner and handle their emotions whenever they're coming to you about something that they really need to feel supported on or feel like you get them on. And the biggest parts to emotional availability starts with self-awareness and emotional regulation. If you're not first aware of the things you're feeling, right, then you'll never be able to get on to how to deal with them. But after you become aware, then you have to learn how to regulate whatever you're aware of, right? So the thing you have to start practicing to build this for yourself is by first learn to start naming your emotions if you're not used to feeling your emotions and being available in that way. Name them, give them labels so you can identify what's going on and the difference between one emotional sensation you're feeling versus another so you don't confuse yourself before you try to articulate or communicate to someone else what you are feeling, right? Next is learn to sit with those emotions instead of pushing them away. People spend so much time avoiding things that makes them feel stuff they don't want to feel versus learning how to deal with the feeling that they're having, registering what it's saying it needs from them, and then appropriately taking an action, which may be setting a boundary or stop watching the show or stop talking to the person or don't be around certain people or whatever the case is. But if you never give yourself a chance to sit in those feelings to process and understand them better, then you spend a life of running from things instead of learning how to sit in the fire and appropriately move whenever necessary instead of moving to avoid. Avoidance is not a healthy thing, right? Yes, you can be taking a precaution and intelligently not putting yourself in a certain situation. That's different than you avoiding feeling something, right? Your feelings did to let you know good information, and the conclusion may be to remove yourself from a situation. But before you can come to that conclusion, you first need to be able to regulate your emotions first to where the only way of regulating becomes fleeing for you. See, when people make it their first reaction to just run away or avoid something whenever they don't feel good about it, what it does is in the same stroke that, yes, it's preserving your peace in a way, right? It's making sure you don't feel like, you know, you're just torturing yourself and have to deal with something that's not good for you. But if you don't have any internal regulating tools, then that becomes your only tool to deal with difficult things. So therefore, whenever times get tough around different things, your first instinct is to run instead of knowing how to deal with it in a more effective or efficient way, especially if your decision to run is also running away from something that you actually want to work out. Maybe it's a relationship or a friendship. To where your first thing is, oh, I didn't feel good about this enough, so I'm going to exit stage left, instead of first saying, wait a minute, I value this person. I want this to work out with this person. Let me figure out, is there a different way? How can I work through this in a way that I can still stand here and talk to them and not lose my cool, right? I can still keep my head level about myself and work through this effectively to get the outcome I want versus the choice I'm making right now just to preserve my sense of not having to deal with uncomfortable feelings. So the last piece, after you've gotten really good at becoming emotionally available to, tap into labeling your emotions so you can understand what you're dealing with, what's going on inside of you, right? To know what you need to do from there. Then you become more emotionally aware, right? In the sense of what to do to regulate those emotions, right? Just like you're getting better at regulating your partners or understanding theirs. Then the last piece is you have to get much better at living in your truth. Now that you know what you're feeling and you're aware of what to do kind of about it, now you have to go and live in that truth, right? Be honest, because part of the big reason why people struggle to be emotionally available or to be aware and all the things is because they're not willing to stand in whatever is true for them, right? They spend more time trying to protect their comfort zone so they don't have to feel awkward, right? Because it could be weird sometimes, or it could feel uneasy to say what your truth is to a person you care for, you love, and you don't want to upset them or cause a fight or an argument. So you kind of suppress or water down your truth. You're not helping anyone when you do that. If anything, you're hurting the situation so much more, right? So part of your ability to even foster that muscle of being emotionally tapped in is you have to feed whatever your emotions are asking of you, which is living in whatever that truth is for yourself unapologetically. Doesn't mean be a jerk. Always lead with love, right? But there's always a loving way to live in your truth. It's not your job to police how the other person receives your truth. It's your job and how you deliver it. So as long as you're delivering it in a loving way, you should never suppress what your truth actually is. Because the better you get at doing that, the better you'll get at being able to embrace someone else's truth, right? See, oftentimes people struggle with emotional, maturity, right? It's an extension of emotional intelligence because they spend a life of being somewhat truthful when they're speaking to people about things, right? But they kind of curve stuff, or they'll water it down, or they'll say a alter version of it. That's not the raw, real way it was going to come out. And therefore, whenever they do that to themselves, now they get used to not being able to embrace it when someone else is trying to bring their emotions to them. Someone that's more direct, someone that's being forward, someone that's speaking in their truth or saying something that they don't want to hear. They struggle to embrace that because they don't give themselves enough reps in living in their truth and saying their truth to someone else, to where when someone else does it, they can say, oh, I can see why they're doing that. This is their truth, just like I say my truth. Or I've heard things like this because I've said it before to someone else. So I can take hearing them say this as well, and don't take it so personal and think it means it's an attack on me and all the things, right? What you do conditions so much for what you can also handle in return. So the better you get at tapping into being able to identify your emotions, regulate them, and then live in your truth, the better you'll be able to do the same for your partner. Second thing you need to really work on is your ability to listen to your partner without trying to fix everything as your first resort, right? When your partner's expressing feelings to you, your first job is not to solve the problem. It's to actually understand. It's to fully take in what's being said, to make sure that they actually get a chance to fully be heard. And it's hard for them to feel that if you start cutting in or cutting them off. And after they've fully been heard, is to make sure that you understood what they said. Make sure they feel that you understood. Make sure that they're clear that you got them clearly. And in that process is where you can ask better questions after you reply back to what you heard versus trying to jump straight to fix it mode. And you can actually read the energy they're bringing to you. Because when people are coming to you for support or what have you and express themselves emotionally, they're usually looking for one of three conversations. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be an emotional thing they're coming to you in, but just when they're coming to talk to you about something, they're either looking for a intellectual conversation, an emotional supportive one, or just a presence conversation. Meaning they're either coming to you with more so like looking for advice, help me fix it. What is the solution I can come up with? Or they're looking for a lended ear so they can just vent and just, have their feelings validated, right? And someone that just understands and gets them. And last, they just want you to be there, to just hold a space for them, right? Maybe pour love into them, give them a hug, and just be present, right? But you can't decipher which one of the three someone is coming to you for if you don't build your ability to be emotionally aware, right? To listen first and digest, process first, then respond second. And a great question you can ask if you can't read between the lines just that great yet is, hey, what would you like right now? Would you like some advice on how we can fix this? Do you just need someone to listen, right now? Because I'm here to listen, because I'd want to be heard as well. Or you just need me just to hold some space here for you. You just want me to be here. I'm right here with you. I'm next to you. Let me hold your hand, right? You can ask better questions and get better results, right? Get better feedback to know what you need to do better so you can start to increase in your partner's eyes your ability to be emotionally present, right? Which is so, so important, because what happens then, now they naturally want to start being more emotionally present, available, and aware for you in return, because you are meaning so much to them, because you offer them that type of space and support. So they absolutely want to give it back to you. Remember, Most people listen to respond, not to connect. Don't be that person, right? Make a regular habit of listening to your partner actively, meaning shut your mouth and let them express. And at the end of them expressing, paraphrase back what you heard in your own words. Don't say their word of line for line, so that they know you truly got them and understood them. Then you go from there, whatever you want to provide or ask questions on whether they want advice and all the things. That shows some of the highest levels of emotional intellect, right? Emotional intelligence, right? And the awareness coupled with it. And then the emotional maturity on how to navigate emotional situations. See, yes, the first frontier is your ability to be, available, aware, and emotional intelligence of yourself, right? And all these things, and emotional maturity for yourself. But after you've mastered that for yourself, it makes you so much better to implement it with your partner beyond you, right? To be able to embrace or navigate other people's emotions a lot more effectively. Because if you can do that more effectively, then now you can start to influence people for positive reason, right? You can move mountains by working with people when they feel truly understood. Only way they feel that is if you're actually able to tap into them enough because you understand yourself enough to be able to read someone else because you, like them, are a human being with the same core needs, even though you might be a different person. And the last thing you got to practice doing is expressing vulnerability in a way that feels safe to you. If you struggle with opening up, start small, taking in light steps. You have to start shifting that mindset and perspective that makes vulnerability a weakness to you. It actually can be one of your biggest strengths if you're willing to embrace it that way. Because vulnerability really equates to trust, right? That's really what it comes back to. Can you trust yourself enough to open up to someone and not feel like you'll be ashamed towards yourself for what you shared? You'll be ashamed of yourself for what you had just said to them or communicated, right? Or do you not trust that you'll be okay if whatever they say back to you makes you feel like, oh, wow, I put myself out there and it exposed something for myself, right? Or do you truly trust your partner that they love you and that they would never try to make you feel bad about something that you're opening up about that's sensitive to you, right? That's what vulnerability really equates to, your ability to trust yourself and trust others. But more importantly, or most importantly, is to trust yourself that you'll be okay no matter what, that you lose nothing by being vulnerable and being human. Because the more you can be vulnerable, the more you connect to people, right? So in situations where something's going on for you, instead of saying things like, oh, I'm fine, how about saying, oh, well, today I feel off today, right? If it's more difficult for you to open up emotionally, start small and to release you're living your truth on some level. So you're not just literally telling a lie or saying something that's not accurate for you and saying, oh, I'm great when you're not really great, right? If something feels off, don't say I'm good. Say, no, I'm a little off, or yeah, something feels off, or not the greatest today, but maybe I'll be okay, or I'm just working through something more accurate, genuine, honest, and authentic, right? It's going to take you so much further because the more you build your ability to do that, you're going to build that muscle to be able to sit in the fire and handle and embrace your partner's emotions when they're coming to you saying, no, I don't feel good today. That's not going to make you want to run. You're not going to get all weird and cringy because you have no experience in that realm, right? It's like if I took you and threw you out there on the field in a professional sport that you never did any practice in, then you'd be probably really scared. You'd be worried you're going to get hurt. Something's going to go really wrong, or all these messed up things because you quite simply are just out of your league. You don't have any preparation that gives you confidence to say that you can do this. So the better you get at living in your truth regularly and on the daily, is the better you'll be able to handle someone else's truth, your partner's truth, whenever you need it most, whenever they need you to be able to embrace it most, instead of not working on living in your truth, not feeling your emotions, not being honest with yourself. And therefore, you show up as an inauthentic version of yourself. And then now, whenever situations come along, you're ready to run. Or you get weird and awkward when your partner's being emotional. And then now they're feeling like you don't care. They're feeling like you're dismissing them. They feel like, you don't really get them. You don't really love them because you won't actually let their truth be spoken. And so they think it's an attack on them. But for you, it's really just this way of defending and protecting yourself to not feel weird and because you don't know how to handle it. Don't get caught being unprepared in one of the biggest games of your life, right? Which is the game of your relationship. And I don't say that in it is a game between you and your partner, but You're in the game, right? You and your partner are in this together. You guys are in center stage doing this thing together. And so if you're going to do that, you have to be prepared to sit in that role. If you're not prepared to sit in that role, you got to get off the field, right? We don't want you to get off the field. I don't want you to get off the field. I want you to stay in the game, and I want you to win the game. If you're going to do that, you have to prepare yourself better to be able to navigate yourself and navigate with your partner when it matters most. If you want help building your sense of emotional availability and awareness so you can connect with your partner on the deepest levels and be able to work through emotionally challenging moments or things or situations and not run from them, right? And actually be able to support your partner the way they actually want, the way you want to show up for them, then email or DM me the word coaching and we will get to work as long as you're truly ready to put that work in. If you're not ready for one-on-one coaching, don't have the time, space, or even resources, then at least email or DM me the word revival to join my Relationship Revival Help community, where I can teach you the same things I teach my clients one-on-one at your own pace, on your own time. Either way, do something to get in the race. Let's get it.